Hello everyone, my name is Luna. I am a creative. I like to do anything creative under the sun, and today we're going to be talking about graphic design or being an aspiring graphic designer, as you can tell by the title of the video. But we're just going to go into it. I recently graduated last month. Yes. Um, so happy and finally glad I'm done with school. I'm never going back. Never going back. I was a person that didn't like high school. I hate elementary. I feel like we could have sped that up faster, we could have done that faster. um but anyway, I'm now, in trying to apply for, like, I really want a remote graphic design role. I feel like it's competitive, of course, but I have gotten an interview, and I'm just going to go over the processes of what I'm doing now, to get a remote role, but also just a role in general because it's everything's competitive right now. So we're just gonna go start off with my first interview. It was with a golf course company. I'm not gonna say the company name, but they have multiple golf courses across the country, and I really wanted to wing it. And I just wanted to be confident, and I realized I wasn't prepared for the questions they were going to ask me. So I didn't pass the first screening, obviously. So that was pretty much a bummer, but I wasn't that worried. So I'm like, okay, I just go for the next one because it was a golf course company. It wasn't really something I was interested in, but it was just something I was like, okay, I'll just take the first one that takes me, kind of thing. Um, and this is the portfolio that I had, just to show you guys just a little bit. And I did this portfolio while in university with my professor. Of course, like, it's part of the curriculum. And this is the resume I had. And so that's what got me past, like, that first, like, into the next process, like, of screenings and things of that nature. And then the second interview I had was with a real estate company. They were going through a rebrand. It's a very popular real estate company. I think one of the top three in the country. And they were going through a rebrand. They wanted more hands on deck. I was an entry level designer, of course, or junior designer, applying for that role. And it was in person. So I passed the first interview with the HR manager because I was more prepared. I went over the typical questions, and then the second interview was in person just for a vibe check. I did not pass the vibe check. I was too nervous. I really like working remote, so you can tell, like, oh, I'm socially anxious. And it sucks because I was meshing well with the senior designer who was working remotely, and we were having the conversation in Zoom along with a creative designer who I was speaking with in person. And I was just like, ugh, this is, I'm no, like, I'm obviously nervous. I'm giving probably the stare that I always give when I'm nervous, which is like this, and that probably freaks people out. Um, the thing is, I had my social battery, like, for ready for, like, an in-person interview with, like, one person, and then I got interviewed to by the VP because they brought me to the VP, like, oh, we want you to speak to them, and we want you to speak to the HR person. And my social battery was down. It was done. It was gone. And so they obviously sent me that letter. It's like, thank you for your time, like, via email. We appreciate your interest. And then I had to look for another one. You know the email I'm talking about. You know the email I'm talking about. So that was a shame. That was a shame. The next interview I had was with, it's called, oh, I can't say the company name. It was a nonprofit organization. Um, and Oh, I should stop before I say that. Before I continue, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I showed you my portfolio, I showed my resume. That's what I used to get those first two opportunities. And then I updated my portfolio as well. I decided to switch it over to Framer because I didn't like how it was. Um, and that portfolio got me the nonprofit organization role. No, no. Okay, and going into the third interview, it was with a nonprofit organization that helps people get homes by building homes for them in the community. It was an in-person role. Their HR manager was out, so they didn't really know how to interview, so it was someone else in the business that was interviewing me. And they were really just saying, like, oh, we're really just seeing you for a good personality match, which threw me off guard because I'm like, oh, I can do all these things. Um, and I, like, oh, I also worked with a nonprofit organization, so that would be cool if I could continue doing that, helping the community. But I think what interviewers are actually looking for is someone really monotone, to be honest. Like they're not really wanting like someone to be friendly. They just want someone to do the work. Because I saw more success with another interview where it was remote. It was something I could do, and it was something like with varied skill set that required like doing a little bit of web design, doing a little bit of graphics, some video editing. Again, I think that would be good because I like doing multiple things. I don't like doing one thing like and only sticking to that. But um anyway, they basically said in their interview with the nonprofit organization, like, oh, I don't think we're a good personality match, and like we'll call you back if we need you to interview again. And that didn't happen. And with the remote interview, like I was being monotone. I had everything prepped. I had like all my like answers of what I was gonna say prepped, and I got past that first interview. I was one of their top 8 of applicants that they were going to move forward with, but they were trying to hire 5 people on the team. In the second interview, I was getting friendly. I didn't go into depth about in my portfolio, which I should have focused on. I wasn't prepared for that second round as much as I thought I was, because I was really leaning on the fact that they would ask me more questions instead of me just talking and yapping about my portfolio. So that sucks. Well, that was like the perfect role I would have wanted, and it started like at the time that I really wanted to start working as a designer. So that's just like a bump in the road. I forgot to mention before I continue, my experience is really with like, I guess, internships. But I don't necessarily disclose that because I don't think that's really relevant to the role. I will state like one or two that is like an internship. But my experience, I helped like a small business with like pin designs, like with Illustrator. And they were like a streetwear kind of business, like an Instagram, Shopify business. And so that was on my resume, like, helping with for ready to print or ready for production files, things of that nature. You'll see my resume pop up here, like some of the details, how it's designed, and what got me those 2 interviews. And then the second one was with it was kind of like a mix because I was doing an internship with this person that was wanting to do a project proposal for Miami, like this, and then the Miami Design District. Like they wanted to propose um, a building project that maybe Miami could invest in to help like local artists in the area. And I had to design like 3D models of what it would look like, help with like I guess what's it called? Like not the architecture, but the layout of how the flat, like the parking would be, and kind of how the building would be. And of course, that project proposal did not go through, unfortunately. But they also had a construction company and had me develop flyers for to promote their business. So that was something we did, or something I did, necessarily to promote their business. So that's something I noted on my resume. My latest experience would be with a nonprofit organization helping develop brochures, like flashcards, ebooks, any materials that could help with fighting dental anxiety in children. I have that listed all in my portfolio. You'll see it's pulled up on the screen. I really like that project because it also helped use my web design and development skills as well. So that's listed on there. So I think that's what I think stands out in my resume, just like how I'm very well-rounded in skill. I think you can still do good even if you're like you have your skills focused in one thing, like specifically illustration, specifically in design, graphics, social media assets. That's I think that's fine. The more you niche down, I think that's best instead of having something such like so many varied skills on one resume like I do. Currently, I have still been applying. I think July is honestly the worst month to apply for everything right now in this year of 2026 because there's literally no one you're hiring. There's so much like AI, like talk, so much, so much going on. And it's kind of frustrating. Like, I'm not going to lie. I feel like every designer is going to go through this, especially when they're starting out. Like, you get so many rejections, you get like upset sometimes. And you're like, why is it not no one wanting to interview me like right now, you know? And I think right now during summer, it's like the worst. If you don't get hired within like June, May, and then like there's basically nothing in July, like that's okay because there's nothing in July. We're still having to wait for the quarter 4, like August, September, to come around where they expand their budgets and then can actually hire more people. And not to mention, like with AI, with the rise of AI, it's getting like, I think the bubble's about to pop based on what I'm seeing right now. But um, you never know because they may think like, oh, AI is gonna replace like designers anyway. Things like that, things of that nature. Like people can generate art, but it doesn't. It looks tacky. It doesn't look that good. Yeah. I don't harp on yourself, guys, if you're not getting hired immediately. Like I think it's typical time frame for any like starting like graduate for it to take like 4 or 5 months, especially in this economy, especially with AI is now another source of competition, and companies trying to lean towards AI in order to replace humans. So I think that's okay. Um, was I really trying to get hired like within 1 month of graduating? Yes, I was really that like trying to get it hired, and I almost was successful. I think what really like harmed me was just my lack of interview skills. Yeah, so my advice, like if you're interviewing, just practice your answers. Try to do mock interviews if you can. It's just monotone. Um, be pretty forward because a lot of things that I said that got me to the second round of interviews was like, okay, when are we going to connect next? Yeah, what are the next steps? Just, you know, trying to get them in that mindset of like, okay, what is coming after this? So that way we can continue forward, not really questioning if you're going to get hired, just be like, okay, what's the next steps if we were to proceed? So that seems like you know what's going on. That's really what it is, like just confidence, knowing what to say, not being too friendly apparently, which sucks. um, but yeah, that's my advice when interviewing. Now when it comes to like the questions that they ask me, I'll put a list up here on the screen so you can screenshot what kind of questions they asked me. I always wrote down like things that they could have asked me and things that they did ask me, and so I could work on it on the next interview or the next application if need be. So yeah. um when it comes to like your resume, I will have to say like I'm trying a new resume format, because I've looked at other people's resumes on LinkedIn, and I've noticed that their format, especially for a designer that I really admire, like this is like someone that's kind of in like my age range, like they're kind of similar experience, a little bit better, of course, but like this is how their format of resume is, and so I'm kind of emulating that style. You do have to use like AI, which sucks, for your hire like for your resume, just so it has like all those ATS words, like the keywords that they want in an applicant or in an applicant's resume. So I do recommend to use it just because no HR person is actually reading your resume like these days. Like it's just filtered through like AI, and then the best ones are given to the HR person to actually review, which is poopy. Some recommendations for your portfolio. I really can't say, like all I can say is this is what's gotten me interviews. This one and this one. However, this is the one that got me a remote like interview, and the one that I really wanted. Um, but it wasn't even fully done. Like I had sent it just like as a whim, like I'll just send it out because like it looks better than my Adobe one, and it didn't have like the mobile version ready, like the mobile version view, and it still got me to that second round. So I think that's pretty good. If you're looking for work that's volunteer, that's more professional, um, I would look on this website, Idealist, because this is what got me like that nonprofit organization experience, and it helped me build my confidence as a designer. Since it was an actual like organization, we had to use Slack. I created work that was actually professional to me, like it seemed like professional work, and it fit our target audience. So I would use Idealist just to get your foot in the door. I think all resumes or all portfolios should have some real world experience besides just design projects. And also, I think it helps the designer build confidence because they're like, okay, I know how things work. Of course, it wasn't paid, but it was something. And I think that's helpful in many ways. When it comes to the platforms that I used when applying to those interviews that I got, I used ZipRecruiter and I used Indeed. I think those ones are the best platforms right now with those real options. Of course, there's always going to be scams. I do see some scams, or I can tell which job postings are scams. They typically end with LLC, and when you look up their website and they have no career page, that most likely isn't a real business. Um, that's what I think, at least, because like there's a website, but there's no career page, and it just doesn't seem right, you know? Another thing is if they usually like email you and ask you to go on Microsoft Teams, but they just want to message you, that's completely a scam. So just to give you some warning signs like, oh, that's not a real position. So you should not waste your time on that. Waste your time on other things like working on your portfolio. Anyway, I really want to try freelance work. I think I'm going to dip my toes into it. I'll let you guys know. I'll give you an update in the next one. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Keep going if you're an aspiring graphic designer like me. Um, if you want to like leave a message or a comment that's, you know, helpful, or just questions in general, I'll be happy to answer those in the comments below. But hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and bye.